Wouldn't you like to receive a letter, or let's update it, wouldn't you like to receive an email or a text or Facebook comment, and the first line was like the one Paul wrote to the Philippian church? I thank my God every time I remember you. I think all of us would like to be remembered like that. The effect we have on the people we love, the people we meet, the people we work with, the people we go to school with. It's a fundamental question that all of us at one time will ask. How will I be remembered? When all is said and done, what will people say about you? Just look at this story in the Acts of the Apostles. What Peter says about Jesus as he introduces the gospel to Cornelius. The gospel message had spread throughout Judea. And think of all that Peter could have said, all the stories he could have told from all that he had seen and heard as he walked with Jesus those 3 years. But Peter summarizes the life of Jesus with these few words in verse 38. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power, how he went about doing good and healing all who are oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. Peter says he and the other disciples were witnesses of this, and he remembers Jesus, how he went about doing good. I don't know about you, but I certainly would settle for that when my time on earth is finished. If it could be said about me when I'm gone, Bruce Lancaster went about doing good because he loved Jesus Christ and he loved people. A summary of your life. If that was went into your obituary, or to be more succinct, on your headstone, if you could write your epitaph, would you settle for that? Went about doing good. Now, as a minister, I have spent a great deal of time in cemeteries across this country. And I do read the headstones of those where the old cemeteries where they have them. And you never know when you might find a relative. And it's interesting to read those headstones, those that have epitaphs. I think it tells a lot about the person. Some not so favorable, like one about this lady. Beneath this silent stone is laid a noisy, antiquated maid who from her cradle talked to death and never before was out of breath. Now, what does this say to you about? I know you're saying, I knew her. Will your epitaph talk about how you died? Like this one. Here lays Butch. We planted him raw. He was quick on the trigger, but slow on the draw. or maybe you would write one that would reveal your love for your family, how you planned for their future. When dear Papa went up to heaven, what grief Mama endured. And yet that grief was softened, for Papa he was insured. When you're gone, how will people remember you? Peter remembers Jesus went about doing good. Not just doing something, not just going about, but going about doing good. And you and I know there is no lack of opportunity for us to go about doing good in our world. And what you and I remember about Jesus sets the example for our life. Other people need us. And the other side of that is that we need other people. It's a line from an old movie. An older gentleman is talking to two teenagers, and he says, one person can do wonders, and two people can do a miracle. I saw it happen. Small gathering at a church, a Christmas party where the church members gave gifts to children who were visiting from a children's home. One older lady who had suffered the pains of a conflicted family, no contact with her son or granddaughters for over 35 years. She didn't have to be there. It hurt more than a little, but she wanted to help. And one of the little girls from the children's home, about 5, 6 years old, opened her gift and then walked over to the lady, crawled up in her lap, and just snuggled. But the lady told me later, I hadn't held a child in over 30 years, and I really wasn't expecting it. But let me tell you, I couldn't cry in front of her, but my heart was bursting with tears of joy. It had been cold for so long. 2 people can make a miracle. The one who needs you, and you, the one who needs to help the other. There's no lack of opportunity in our day and time for lifting up lives, for repairing the fractures in our broken world. I want you to remember what Hans Hobbe wrote. The world is 1% good, 1% bad, and 98% neutral. It can go one way or the other, depending which side is pushing, which side is going about doing what. Or as John Buchanan, the wonderful Presbyterian preacher, former editor of the Christian Century, said it as he speaks to our day, silence is not an option. We have to act. And I know that you believe in Jesus, but Jesus teaches us that believing is nothing until we act on that belief. It's not a matter of defining who our neighbor is, but what we do for our neighbor. Of course, we are involved with SHIM and Produce to People and World Vision and City Mission and Homewood and more. And that's in our community. And this church's letter writing ministry seeks to make a difference for the better in critical issues of the day. We're involved worldwide in Haiti and Malawi and India and through our denomination in every corner of the world. Even though there is no way we can meet every need or support every organization, we must do everything we can because we are responsible to do our share of putting back together a very broken and bruised world. And it's all about how we remember Jesus Christ as he did, to look for daily opportunities to go about doing good, person to person to person. That neighbor standing next to you in the checkout line or passing by in a crosswalk. In the desk, one row over in the classroom or at a dining table in our retirement complex, or maybe even one pew over in the sanctuary. I know you want to leave a story that will be remembered, will not be forgotten. In the words of Mother Teresa, to do something beautiful for God. We know what we're supposed to be doing, what is required of us. As the prophet Micah says, to do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. These are not complicated instructions. It's more difficult to put something together from IKEA than to understand these. We know what we're here for, what we need to be remembered for. What is it that you do now that people will thank God for you when they remember you? Maybe you've seen that video of an 8-year-old boy holding the hand of a crying classmate on their first day of school. Christian Moore saw Connor Kreitz, also 8, crying as they started 2nd grade earlier this month. Connor is autistic and had been overwhelmed by the commotion of everybody gathering, waiting to go into school. He said, Christian was kind to me. I started crying and then he helped me and I was happy. He found me and held my hand and I got happy tears. Courtney Moore, Christian's mother, said, I saw Christian on the ground with Connor as Connor was crying in the corner and he was consoling him. He grabs his hand and walks him to the front door. The rest is history. They have an inseparable bond. April Kreitz, Connor's mother, told Courtney, I worry every day that Connor is going to get bullied for being different, and your son just absolutely warmed my heart. If there were more children like him, I wouldn't worry about such things. She went on to say, it doesn't matter color, it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter disability, and it doesn't matter anything. Just be kind. Open your heart. It's what we need in this world. I don't know about you, but in her words, I hear the echo of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. This past week was the anniversary of the march in Washington and those magnificent words that called us to reach for the best we can be as humans. But did you know that's not what he wanted to be remembered for? Just a few weeks before he was killed, he spoke to the people at Ebenezer Baptist Church and in a sermon shared with them what he hoped people would remember him for when he was gone. At his funeral, they played a part of the tape of that sermon, and this is what he said. If any of you are around when I have to meet my day, tell them not to talk about my Nobel Peace Prize. I want you to be able to say that I did try to feed the hungry. I did try to clothe the naked. I did try to visit those who were in prison. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. I just want to leave behind a committed life. We will be remembered, but for what kind of life? It's yours to do, to write your epitaph now, that when all is said and done, they will say about you, here lies who went about doing good. To God be the glory.